The first thing you learn working subsea cable isn't about the ocean, it's about silence. Miles of fiber optic cable running across the seabed carry the world's information, calls, data, everything. But when something goes wrong down there, the silence is immediate, total. That's how it started. I worked at a landing station just outside Myrtle Beach, where one of the major transatlantic cables came ashore. My job wasn't glamorous: maintenance coordination, occasional dives, inspections when signals dropped or physical damage was suspected near the coastal shelf. Most problems were boring: anchors dragging, storm damage, corrosion, nothing alive, until the night the signal died. It happened just after 2 a.m. The monitors flatlined. No gradual degradation, no warning, just gone. Every channel running through that cable dropped simultaneously. I stared at the screen. That's not normal. My partner Ellis leaned over my shoulder. System glitch? No. I pulled up the physical integrity feed. The cable wasn't just offline. It was severed, about a mile offshore, in relatively shallow water. Ellis frowned. Ship anchor? I shook my head. Too clean. The break wasn't frayed or dragged. It looked cut. We were dispatched within the hour. Standard protocol, small dive vessel, 2-man team, just me and Ellis. The ocean was calm that night, too calm. The kind of still water that makes you uneasy without knowing why. We reached the coordinates around 3:15 a.m. The surface looked empty. No debris, no signs of impact. Just black water stretching out under a moonless sky. Ellis geared up beside me. "Quick in and out," he said. "We check the break, mark it, and get a repair crew out here tomorrow." I nodded. Yeah, that's what it was supposed to be. The water was colder than expected, not freezing, but deep, heavy. Even that close to shore, it felt like the ocean dropped away faster than it should. Our lights cut through the dark as we descended. The seabed came into view around 60 feet down. Sand, scattered rock, and the cable, or what was left of it. The line had been cut clean through, not torn, not crushed, sliced. The outer insulation was peeled back slightly, the fiber inside exposed like nerves. Ellis hovered beside me. Tell me a propeller didn't do that. No propeller leaves edges like that. I reached out and ran my glove along the cable. The cut was smooth, almost surgical. Then something moved beyond the edge of my light. I turned. Nothing, just dark water. But the sand below us shifted slightly, like something had just buried itself. Ellis tapped my shoulder. "You see that?" I nodded. We both went still. The ocean around us felt different now, not empty, occupied. Our comms crackled. "Surface check." "Status?" Ellis responded. "Cable is severed, clean cut, no visible debris." "Copy. Anything unusual?" I hesitated, then said, "Negative," because I wasn't sure yet. We circled the breakpoint slowly, scanning, looking for any sign of what could have done it. That's when Ellis's light caught something. A shape in the sand, partially buried, long, segmented. I moved closer. At first I thought it was part of the cable housing. Then it twitched. Ellis flinched backward. "What the hell?" The sand erupted. Something shot out of it. Fast. Too fast to track. It slammed into Ellis. The impact knocked him sideways into the seabed. His light spun wildly across the darkness. I grabbed him and pulled him upright. "Ellis!" His breathing was panicked in the comms. "Something hit me." "What did it look like?" "I don't know." The sand around us started shifting again, multiple spots this time, like something moving beneath the surface, circling, hunting. Then I saw it. The head broke through the sand just ahead of us, long, flat, with a mouth that split open horizontally across its entire face. Rows of thin, blade-like teeth lined the inside. Its body stretched behind it, segmented like an ancient marine worm, easily 20 feet long. Its skin was pale and ridged, and its eyes, small, black, focused. The creature snapped its jaws shut with a sharp crack, right where the cable had been. Ellis whispered, "That thing cut the line." The creature turned toward us. Its body slid through the sand with disturbing speed. I grabbed Ellis. "We're going up, now." We kicked toward the surface. Hard, the water churned around us as we ascended. I didn't look back at first. I didn't want to. Then Ellis screamed, "It's coming up!" I turned. The thing had left the seabed. Its long body coiled through the water behind us, moving faster than anything that size should. Its mouth opened again, wider this time. The teeth glinted in our dive lights. It lunged. I shoved Ellis upward. "Go!" The creature snapped just inches below his fins. The pressure wave from its movement shoved me sideways. I lost my orientation for a second. The water spun. Darkness closed in. Then my light steadied. We broke the surface, gasping. The crew hauled us onto the boat immediately. "What happened?" Ellis ripped off his mask. "There's something down there." I climbed over the side. Not something, a lot of something. We didn't stay. We didn't mark the site. We just left. The next morning, the repair crew refused to dive, because overnight, 2 more cables along the coast went dead. Same clean cuts, same depth, same pattern. Now they've shut down night dives along the Myrtle Shelf. Officially, they're calling it unknown marine interference. But I know what I saw, and worse, I know what it was doing. That creature wasn't attacking randomly. It was targeting the cables, cutting them, systematically, like it was removing something, or disconnecting us. And last night, another cable went dark, closer to shore, much closer, which means whatever lives down there isn't staying on the seabed anymore. It's moving inland through the shallows toward the coastline, where the cables finally reach land. The next call came at 1:12 a.m. I didn't answer at first. I was already awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying the dive over and over in my head. The way the thing moved, the way it cut the cable like it knew exactly where to bite. The phone kept vibrating on the nightstand. I picked it up. It was Ellis. I answered. "You seeing this?" he asked immediately. "Seeing what?" "The monitors." I was back at the landing station within 15 minutes. The place was alive in a way I'd never seen before. Techs moving between terminals, supervisors arguing quietly, multiple screens lit up with red warnings. Every cable line on the board showed instability, not failure, not yet, just fluctuation. Like something was touching them, testing them. Ellis stood near the main display. He didn't look good. "You feel that?" he asked. "Feel what?" Before he could answer, the lights flickered. Not a full outage, just a brief dip. The kind you feel more than see. Then the signal dropped. 1 line, then another, then 3 at once. Each one cutting out in the same place. Near shore. Close. "Pull up the physical feed," I said. A technician brought up the live subsea camera from one of the coastal monitoring nodes. The image was grainy, low light, just sand and dark water shifting in the current. Then something slid into frame, long, segmented, the same pale, ridged body. The camera shook slightly as the thing moved past it. Then it stopped. The head turned toward the lens. The mouth opened slowly. Those thin, blade-like teeth caught the dim light. And for a moment, it just watched. Ellis whispered, "It knows where we are." The technician backed away from the console. "Kill that feed." "No," I said, but it was too late. The camera went black, not static, not interference, just gone. The room fell silent. Then the building trembled. A low vibration rolled through the floor, not strong enough to knock anything over, but enough to feel in your bones. I looked at Ellis. "Tell me that's not coming from the ocean." He didn't answer, because we both knew it was. The supervisor rushed in from the back room. "We've got pressure changes in the near-shore conduits." "What does that mean?" someone asked. "It means something is moving through the cable trenches." My stomach dropped. The cables didn't just run along the seabed. Near the shore, they were buried in protective conduits, narrow trenches that ran underground before reaching the station. Something was inside those channels, inside the system, coming toward us. "Shut down the lines," I said. "They're already offline." "Then seal the conduits." The supervisor shook his head. "We can't. They're open to the ocean at the far end." Ellis looked at me. "It followed the cable." I nodded slowly. "Yeah." And now it knew exactly where it led. Another vibration hit the building, stronger this time. Dust shook loose from the ceiling panels. A deep, hollow sound echoed through the floor, like something scraping against metal far below us. The tech at the console shouted, "We've got movement in the inland segment." The monitor lit up with a thermal overlay. A long shape moved through the buried conduit beneath the station. Too large. Far too large. The system wasn't built to hold something like that, and it wasn't alone. Multiple shapes, sliding through the tunnels. Ellis backed away from the screen. "How many?" The tech shook his head. "I can't count them." The lights flickered again, then dimmed. Emergency systems kicked in. The building shifted slightly. The sound below us grew louder, scraping, cracking, metal bending under pressure. Then the floor ruptured. It happened fast. A section of reinforced concrete split open like it had been cut from below. Sand and water burst upward into the room, and something followed it. A pale, segmented body surged through the opening. The head slammed into the ceiling before dropping back down. The creature coiled inside the station, its mouth opened wide, the same blade-like teeth, the same black eyes. Now only a few feet away, people screamed. The room erupted into chaos. I grabbed Ellis. "Move!" We ran toward the exit. Behind us, the creature thrashed. Its body slammed against the walls. Another section of floor collapsed. Another one came through, then another. They were flooding the station, using the conduits, using the cables, the same paths we built to connect the world. They were using them to reach us. We burst outside into the night air. The ocean was just beyond the dunes, dark, endless, and moving. The water line shifted. Something long slid through the shallows. Then another. The surf broke strangely, like something massive was displacing the water beneath it. Ellis stared. "They're coming out of the ocean." I shook my head. "No." I pointed back at the building. "They're coming out of us." Behind us, the station collapsed further. Concrete cracked, metal twisted. The creatures continued forcing their way upward, through the ground. More of them now. Dozens, maybe more beneath the surface. The first one slithered out of the building. Its long body dragged across the sand. Its head lifted, facing the coastline, facing the lights of Myrtle Beach in the distance. And then it made a sound. Not a screech, not a roar, a low, pulsing vibration. The same rhythm we'd heard underwater. Boom, boom, boom. The ocean answered. Out in the darkness, massive shapes began rising beneath the surface, bigger than the ones on land, much bigger. Ellis whispered, "What are they doing?" I watched the creatures crawling onto the shore, watching the ocean respond, and I realized something that made my chest tighten. "They're not cutting cables anymore." He looked at me. "Then what are they doing?" The creatures on the beach began moving inland, toward the city, toward the lights, toward everything connected by the network they had just destroyed. I swallowed hard. They finished disconnecting us. I looked back at the ocean, at the massive shapes rising beneath the waves. And now, they're coming to collect what's left. The first one reached the dunes. It didn't hesitate. Its segmented body dragged across the sand with a heavy, wet scraping sound, leaving a deep trench behind it as it climbed over the ridge. Ellis grabbed my arm. "We need to warn people." I was already pulling my phone out. No signal, of course. The cables were gone. The station was down. Everything that tied this coastline to the rest of the world, cut. Behind us, more of them poured out of the shattered building, some still forcing their way through the broken floor, others already spreading across the beach, at least a dozen now, and out in the water, more shapes rising, much larger. The ocean bulged in slow, unnatural swells as something enormous moved beneath the surface. Ellis backed away. "That's not just worms." "No," I said quietly. "It isn't." The first creature crested the dune and stopped. Its head lifted. The long mouth opened slightly. Its black eyes scanned the lights of Myrtle Beach in the distance. The hotels, the boardwalk, the roads still lit with late-night traffic, people who had no idea what was coming. The creature lowered its head again. Then it moved. We ran. There was nothing else to do. No weapons. No backup. No way to stop something like that. We sprinted toward the nearest access road, sand slipping under our boots. Behind us, the creatures spread out. Not randomly, deliberately, some moving along the shoreline, others cutting straight inland, following something. The same thing they had followed through the ocean, the cables. "They're tracking infrastructure," Ellis said between breaths. "Power lines, roads, anything we built." I nodded. "They know where everything connects. Because we showed them every cable, every route, every path into our cities." We reached the road just as headlights approached. A late-night driver slowed when they saw us. "What's going on?" I turned back toward the beach. One of the creatures had already crossed the dunes. Its long body slid onto the asphalt. The driver saw it and froze. The creature lifted its head slowly. The mouth opened. The teeth glistened under the streetlight. Then it lunged. The first one reached the dunes. It didn't hesitate. Its segmented body dragged across the sand with a heavy, wet scraping sound, leaving a deep trench behind it as it climbed over the ridge. Ellis grabbed my arm. "We need to warn people." I was already pulling my phone out. No signal. Of course. The cables were gone. The station was down. Everything that tied this coastline to the rest of the world, cut. Behind us, more of them poured out of the shattered building, some still forcing their way through the broken floor, others already spreading across the beach, at least a dozen now, and out in the water, more shapes rising, much larger. The ocean bulged in slow, unnatural swells as something enormous moved beneath the surface. Ellis backed away. "That's not just worms." "No," I said quietly, "it isn't." The first creature crested the dune and stopped, its head lifted. The long mouth opened slightly. Its black eyes scanned the lights of Myrtle Beach in the distance, the hotels, the boardwalk, the roads still lit with late-night traffic, people who had no idea what was coming. The creature lowered its head again. Then it moved. We ran. There was nothing else to do. No weapons, no backup, no way to stop something like that. We sprinted toward the nearest access road, sand slipping under our boots. Behind us, the creatures spread out, not randomly, deliberately, some moving along the shoreline, others cutting straight inland, following something, the same thing they had followed through the ocean, the cables. "They're tracking infrastructure," Ellis said between breaths. "Power lines, roads, anything we built." I nodded. "They know where everything connects, because we showed them. Every cable, every route, every path into our cities." We reached the road just as headlights approached. A late-night driver slowed when they saw us. "What's going on?" I turned back toward the beach. One of the creatures had already crossed the dunes. Its long body slid onto the asphalt. The driver saw it and froze. The creature lifted its head slowly. The mouth opened. The teeth glistened under the streetlight. Then it lunged. We didn't stay to watch. We ran. Down the road, toward the town, toward people who needed to get out. But even as we ran, sirens started in the distance, not emergency sirens, car alarms, triggered all at once, across the entire coastline, because the ground was vibrating. I glanced back one last time. The beach was no longer empty. Dozens of those creatures now crawling inland, and out in the ocean, something massive broke the surface, not fully, just enough to see the scale. A head, far larger than the ones on land, its mouth opened slowly, and inside, those same blade-like teeth. Ellis saw it too. Oh my God, the thing let out a deep, resonating pulse. Boom, boom, boom. The creatures on land stopped, all at once. They lifted their heads, listening. Then they moved again, faster, more aggressive, as if they had just been given a command. We reached the first line of buildings, lights flickering, people stepping outside, confused, looking toward the beach, toward the sound. I grabbed the first person I saw. "Get inside. Lock your doors." "What's happening?" I didn't answer, because I didn't have one. Not one anyone would believe. The ground shook again, stronger this time. A crack split across the road behind us. Sand pushed upward through the asphalt, and something beneath it moved, not from the ocean, from under the town. Ellis stopped. "They're not just coming from the water." I stared at the ground, at the shifting earth beneath our feet. "No," I said slowly. "They've been under us too." Another section of road collapsed. A creature burst upward from beneath the street. Then another. They weren't just following the cables. They had been using them. Living alongside them, moving through them, waiting. The power went out. The entire block dropped into darkness. Only the distant glow of emergency lights flickered across the skyline, and in that darkness, I could see movement everywhere. Along the streets, between buildings, across rooftops, long pale bodies sliding through the city. Ellis whispered, "How do you stop something like this?" I didn't answer, because I was thinking about the cables, about how they cut them first, not to destroy, to isolate, to separate us from each other, from help, from any warning. And now, there was nothing left between us and them. The last thing I saw before we turned the corner was the ocean, the massive shape offshore rising higher, watching the coastline, watching the city, waiting, because the smaller ones had come ashore first, but they weren't the real threat. They were just the beginning, and whatever was still out there in the deep was about to come all the way in. The ground shook again, stronger this time. A crack split across the road behind us, sand pushed upward through the asphalt, and something beneath it moved, not from the ocean, from under the town. Ellis stopped. "They're not just coming from the water." I stared at the ground, at the shifting earth beneath our feet. "No," I said slowly. "They've been under us too." Another section of road collapsed. A creature burst upward from beneath the street. Then another. They weren't just following the cables. They had been using them, living alongside them, moving through them, waiting. The power went out. The entire block dropped into darkness. Only the distant glow of emergency lights flickered across the skyline, and in that darkness I could see movement everywhere. Along the streets, between buildings, across rooftops, long, pale bodies sliding through the city. Ellis whispered, "How do you stop something like this?" I didn't answer, because I was thinking about the cables, about how they cut them first, not to destroy, to isolate, to separate us from each other, from help, from any warning. And now, there was nothing left between us and them. The last thing I saw before we turned the corner was the ocean, the massive shape offshore rising higher, watching the coastline, watching the city, waiting because the smaller ones had come ashore first, but they weren't the real threat. They were just the beginning, and whatever was still out there in the deep was about to come all the way in. The sirens never came. Not the real ones. No coordinated response. No helicopters sweeping the coast. No emergency broadcasts cutting through the darkness, because there was no network left to carry them. The city was on its own. Ellis and I ducked between two buildings, trying to get off the main road. The ground was still shifting beneath us, not violently, just enough to remind you that something was moving below. Something large, something following the same routes the cables once ran. A scream echoed down the street behind us, then another, then it stopped, not faded, stopped. I didn't look back. We cut through an alley and reached a small parking lot behind a motel. A few people had gathered there, confused, terrified. "What's going on?" one of them asked. I shook my head. "Stay off the roads. Stay off the ground if you can." They stared at me like I'd lost my mind. Ellis pointed. "Look." The asphalt in the lot bulged upward. A long crack split across the surface. Sand pushed through. Then the ground opened. One of the creatures burst up from below. It didn't hesitate this time. Its mouth opened wide. The blade-like teeth snapped shut on the nearest person before anyone could react. The sound, I won't describe it. I can't. We ran again. Inside the motel lobby, a few more people had taken shelter. Someone had locked the doors. Furniture shoved against the glass. It wouldn't matter, but it made them feel better. I grabbed the front desk phone. Dead. Of course. No lines, no signal, no help coming. The building shook again. Stronger. Dust fell from the ceiling. A deep grinding sound rolled up through the foundation, like something enormous was pressing against the structure from below. Ellis looked at me. "They're not just hunting." "No." I stared at the floor. "They're mapping." Outside, something slammed against the building. The glass doors cracked. Another impact. Harder. A long, pale body slid across the front windows. The creature's head pressed briefly against the glass, black eyes staring inside. Then it pulled back and disappeared. For a moment, everything went still. Then the ocean roared, not waves, not wind, a deep, rising sound that rolled across the coastline like thunder. Everyone in the lobby froze. The sound got louder, closer. Ellis whispered, "That's not the smaller ones." I knew that. We all did. The building lights flickered once, twice, then died completely. Emergency lights kicked on, dim, red, enough to see shadows moving, not enough to feel safe. Then the ground dropped, not completely, just enough that everyone felt it, a sudden sickening shift, like the earth had exhaled and something had taken its place. Outside, the streetlights near the shore went dark, one by one, as something massive moved between them, a shape too large to fully see, but you could make out sections of it as it passed through the faint light, a ridged surface, a curve of something enormous, a head that rose above the rooftops for just a second, before lowering again. Someone in the lobby whispered, "What is that?" No one answered, because no one had words for it. The creatures inside the town stopped moving. Every single one of them. The ones outside, the ones under the ground. All of them froze. Then, slowly, they turned toward the ocean, toward the massive shape now entering the city, following it, responding to it. Ellis grabbed my shoulder. "That's the one in charge." I nodded. "Yeah." And then I understood the last part, the part we hadn't seen yet. They didn't cut the cables just to isolate us. They cut them because those lines carried noise, electricity, signals, vibrations, the kind of things that might interfere with something, communicating. Now the coast was quiet, disconnected, silent, perfect. The massive shape moved further inland. The ground shifted beneath it. Buildings creaked, foundations cracked. The smaller creatures followed behind it like a swarm, clearing paths, opening the ground, making way. Ellis whispered, "What does it want?" I watched the thing move deeper into the city, toward the inland power stations, toward the remaining infrastructure, toward everything still running, still alive, still connected.